Jose Aldo versus Rob Font is now officially in the works. Aljamain Sterling has an emotional breakdown over Twitter, and Tyron Woodley finally gets his I Love Jake Paul tattoo. I thought I'd give my opinion on all of these topics in today's MMA news reaction video, starting with Jose Aldo versus Rob Font, a huge fight in the bantamweight division, and this is very important for many different reasons. This bout will now be maybe headlining the main event of December 4th's Fight Night card, and this is very important to know because Aldo versus Font being made means that they're probably definitely going to be making Corey Sandhagen versus Piotr Jan, since Aljamain Sterling pulled out of the fight or was withdrawn from the fight by the UFC medical team. I'll correct that because Aljamain Sterling will have another emotional breakdown over Twitter. Either way, this now means that Aldo and Font, two of the front runners outside of Sandhagen that could have maybe got a title shot against Piotr Jan, are now out of the mix, especially Rob Font, because I thought that Rob Font should be the guy that fills in for the title fight against Piotr Jan, but I guess now we know that it's going to be Piotr Jan versus Corey Sandhagen, so that's very big news. Aldo versus Font is an amazing fight. I thought I'd give my prediction on it and my opinions on it being made. I am so glad that this is a main event of a fight night because I don't really care if Aldo can beat Rob Font over 3 rounds. I reckon he probably could, and if this was a 3-round bout, I would very, very comfortably pick Jose Aldo. However, I need Aldo to go 5 rounds, and 5 rounds well, before I am in any way interested in a Piotr Jan rematch or a Corey Sandhagen matchup over 5 rounds, or even an Aljamain Sterling matchup over 5 rounds, even though I do reckon Jose Aldo would beat Aljamain Sterling. Even still, I need Aldo to go 5 rounds. He is going 5 rounds against Rob Font. Amazing matchup in the bantamweight division. I reckon he's going to beat Rob Font in a 5-rounder here. He showed in his last fight against Pedro Munoz in that 3rd round. He had a better 3rd round than his 1st and 2nd. In fact, the 1st round against Pedro Munoz was the close round. And Munoz, who is a guy who normally pressures his opponents and breaks them down over time with calf kicks and body kicks, was eventually outworked and out-hustled by Jose Aldo as the rounds went on, and I truly believe that is evidence that Aldo is doing a lot better in terms of cardio. He is working the body way more than he ever used to, and way better than he ever used to as well, and I think that's actually helping him control pace of fight way better because Rob Font, he has to go out there and pressure Aldo over 5 rounds. I think Aldo's body work is going to not let Rob Font pressure Aldo over 5 rounds. It's an amazing matchup, but I might go with Jose Aldo 3 rounds to 2, winning the first 3 rounds of this bout, losing the last 2 rounds of this bout. I think he's got this one in the bag, and it sounds crazy, but Aldo legitimately might get another title shot in the bantamweight division, and I think I'm going to pick him to because Rob Font, let's not forget, was knocked down by Pedro Munoz in the 1st round and guillotine choked in the 1st round as well, in the same night, all in 1 round. So, for Aldo to destroy Pedro Munoz, and in my opinion a better version of Pedro Munoz, that really does say something, and Rob Font is no joke. I picked him against Garbrandt, I've picked him in all of his recent fights, I believe, other than against Moraes. I don't think I picked him there, but I picked him against Sergio Pettis, Ricky Simone. He's an amazing fighter, Rob Font. Very, very good fighter. But one of the reasons he's so good is because of his massive reach advantage over nearly every single opponent that he takes on. He, I believe, had a 4-inch reach advantage over Marlon Moraes, a 6-inch reach advantage over Cody Garbrandt in his last 2 bouts, and that's where he's looked most impressive. In fact, the closest fight he's had was against a close reach difference against Ricky Simone and Sergio Pettis, and they actually gave him somewhat competitive fights. Now, he did beat Sergio Pettis. Pettis, of course, is a flyweight-sized man, but he does have a long reach, and of course, he beat Ricky Simone as well, but Simone's more of a grappler. I feel as though Aldo being 1 inch away in reach and not giving Font that massive amount of reach to work with here is going to allow Aldo to just outstrike Rob Font over 5 rounds. I think Font might start to come back in the 4th and 5th. But if Aldo chops at the legs, which I believe he will in this fight because he needs this one to get back towards a title shot, like he did against Marlon Vera, he was chopping at the legs there, he was chopping at the legs against Piotr Jan as well. I believe Aldo's going to go out there, work the legs a little bit, go to the body a little bit, and really stifle Rob Font, and also just outbox him at range because I truly believe Aldo is a better striker than Rob Font. Rob Font needs a massive reach advantage to do stuff with his opponents because he works the reach very well, but against Garbrandt, you've got a 6-inch reach advantage. Damn right you should be out jabbing him. You know what I'm saying? I think Aldo's going to be better. He's bigger, he's stronger than Rob Font, and I think he's got a better chin than Rob Font, and I think he's tougher than Rob Font. However, this could be a Rob Font heavy bag matchup where he's just pinging off Aldo's face from range for all 5 rounds, but I think the reach is going to be huge here. Aldo's got a 70-inch reach, Font's only got a 71-inch reach in comparison to having a massive advantage in other fights. I think Aldo's got this one in the bag over 5 rounds, and if he does win this one, he's back towards a title shot in the bantamweight division, but that is a problem right now. You want to know why? Corey Sandhagen's fighting. Basically, Aldo's ruined everything, even if it isn't his own fault and he did get withdrawn by the doctors. I don't even fucking care. He should be stripped just to fucking get him out of the way and actually have a bantamweight division right now, because he's genuinely ruined the bantamweight division through his fault or not his fault. Through no fault of his own, if that could be the case, if he didn't actually have any problems, and the doctors just pulled him off anyway. He has ruined the bantamweight division for 2 straight years, okay? The winner of this one is going to want a title shot, and they're going to have earned a title shot. Dillashaw has earned a title shot right now in the bantamweight division. Corey Sandhagen is coming off of a loss, and he's fighting for the title against Petr Yan next. I assume it's the only one left they have. There's too many guys that need title shots right now for us to be having this problem with Aljamain Sterling. Fucking strip him and just make Yan versus Sandhagen for the belt. It's not the real title fight. I understand Aljamain Sterling choked out Corey Sandhagen in the first round. Or just give Yan the belt back and have him defend against Dillashaw early next year, and then take on the winner of Aldo versus Font maybe later on in the middle of next year. Get rid of Aljo. He's actually a whiny little pussy, and let's get on to Aljamain Sterling right now, because I'm about to fucking expose this man. Aljamain Sterling has had a bit of an emotional breakdown on Twitter. It started with, apparently, Petr Yan talking shit about him and his fiance. I guess he was upset and didn't respond the way he wanted me to. Hashtag no mercy. Apparently he blocked Aljamain Sterling on Twitter. That's the story right now that Aljamain is having a fucking meltdown about, because Petr Yan blocked him on Twitter, so that's a big problem that everyone needs to know about, which is cool because I get to make a video out of it. And Petr Yan said afterwards, "Stop lying, I'll never say anything bad about anyone's family, and yes, you are blocked, until you grow the balls to fight me. For now, I'm done wasting my time on you, you coward, bye-bye." He didn't say bye-bye, but he waved goodbye to Aljamain. He didn't say anything about Aljo's family, and he said bye-bye, you coward. And then Aljamain Sterling said, and this is where Aljamain Sterling is a little fucking weasel of a cunt. I'm about to expose you, and you're watching this right now shitting yourself. He says, "You posted a fucking screenshot, picture of my fiancé and I hanging out, saying I have a new job. I guess I'm lying then, because somehow you don't consider that family." Notice what Aljo does here. It's a trend moving forward in this very video I'm making right now. He never argues what the actual thing is. He claims that Petr Yan was insulting him and his fiancé. Now his claim, since Petr refuted that claim, is that he posted a screenshot of him and his fiancé hanging out. You want to know why? Because Aljamain Sterling was drinking alcohol and partying with his fiancé in that picture. It had nothing to do with the fiancé. Petr Yan was mocking Aljamain for drinking and hanging out and partying, even though he's too unhealthy to fight. I guess he wanted Aljo to focus on recovery. So Aljo's being disingenuine there, first of all. He's a liar, and he knows what he's doing. He's just twisting the story so it works for him. Honestly, I've never had such a 12-year-old girl of a champion in the UFC. It's actually a disgrace. So, I literally come on Twitter to chuckle at all the latest news people have to say about me. It's fascinating to say the least, he says, which is interesting. And then someone tweets at Aljo, one of his defenders on Twitter, how embarrassing. They say, "Petr Yan seems to forget that he actually pulled out of the first fight with no explanation. MMA community is lost. Keep recovering, Aljo." Then Aljo responded, "I pull out because I'm not fully recovered and medically cleared to fight, and now I'm scared. Yan pulls out for no reason, and people forget it happened because logic." Petr Yan gave a reason. A reason was given by his team. A reason was given by the UFC. You can look this up. Type in right now. Petr Yan visa issues. Done. Refuted claim, Aljo's a liar. For no reason he pulled out of your first fight. You know why he pulled out, because the UFC will have told you why he pulled out. You're just trying to get against Yan because you're having an emotional breakdown because no one considers you a champion. And you're actually a pussy, man. I don't care, man. I straight up don't care. People are going to say, oh, he beat you up. I don't care. That's not a reason for not being able to be insulted or fucking attacked. I'm attacking Aljamain Sterling right now, regardless whether or not you can beat me up or not. You shouldn't be exempt of criticism because you can beat someone up. So before you Aljo fans come at me with that, fuck off. He's lying. Type in Piotr visa issues right now on Google, and it will come up that he had to pull out of the fight with Aljamain Sterling because he couldn't get his visa approved. Done. Couldn't get his visa approved, just like Dan Hooker couldn't recently, just like Nasrat Haqparast couldn't recently, and they had to battle massively to get that done. And remember, this is in the heat of everything going on in 2020. It was way harder to get a visa approved back then. That's why Piotr pulled out of their fight. Didn't not give a reason at all. He literally gave a reason. The UFC told us the reason. Everyone knows the fucking reason, Aljo. You're just hoping that everyone's forgotten. Moving on to another situation. Anatomy of a Fighter backs up Aljamain Sterling. No surprise there if you know about the Anatomy of a Fighter. Either way, these MMA fans can be so weird at times. On one hand, they bash Funkmaster MMA for not being 100% healthy, and on the other hand, they are like, give Sandman the fight with Yan because it's a true title fight, like Aljo didn't choke his lights out in the first round. Again, no one is saying that the true title fight is Piotr Yan versus Corey Sandhagen. No one is saying that whatsoever. There is not a single person that genuinely believes that Corey Sandhagen has more of a right to a belt than Aljamain Sterling. And if they do, these are not the mass people that are out there talking about Aljamain Sterling. He is arguing against points that people don't say at all, so he can win those points because people never said them, and I guess that's going to get him bonus points online. I don't understand what he's doing right now. He's actually an 8-year-old girl. He's dropped 4 years since the start of this video when I first insulted him. I don't understand. No one's saying that they want the fight between Sandhagen and fucking Piotr Yan. We have to have that now. Sandhagen's coming off a loss. No one wants Sandhagen versus Yan right now, but we have to have it because of you. Because of you, we have to have it. And listen, before you tell me it's not because of you, because his reaction is to the whole situation, I was pulled off by the medical staff, it's not my fault that I couldn't recover in time, listen to this. Why the fuck did you wait 4 weeks out of the fight to tell us that you couldn't make it to the fucking fight? You knew this fight was signed for weeks now, and you've still said nothing about it this entire time until it's too late to find a replacement, and we have to scramble to find Corey Sandhagen coming off a loss. You've done this, okay? If you weren't ready to fight, which you said you weren't, but then you came out afterwards and said that it was the doctors that told you you weren't. You said you were still feeling nerve damage. You said that, not the doctors. So that's not the doctors coming in and thinking, oh, we think you might still have some nerve damage. You said you still had nerve damage and you were feeling the effects of it and you want to pull out of the fight and reschedule it to a later date. You waited until 4 or 3 weeks left, however long it's going to be. I believe it's 4 weeks left. You waited until 4 weeks left to tell us that. You shouldn't have even been in training camp. There's no way your injury has gotten worse now than it was 3 weeks ago when you knew this fight was fucking happening. It only gets better over time. So you knew about this when you signed the fight. You knew you still weren't feeling 100%. You even mentioned that you weren't feeling 100% 3 weeks ago or however long ago the fight was signed. Yet here we are and waiting until it's too late to find a replacement that's good enough. And now is when you tell us, and now you've fucked up the bantamweight division again. And again, Aljo, let me just put this to bed for once. No one cares that you got a legally need. I understand it's wrong. You got a legally need. That's not what people are complaining about. Okay? People aren't complaining about you pulling out and saying that Sandhagen is the rightful guy for the belt. People aren't saying that stuff. You tried to lie about Yan pulling out with no reason, even though he had visa issues. That's another lie you've told so far. People aren't angry about you getting a belt. Okay? It's just a shitty byproduct of what people actually are angry about. You flopping around like an absolute soy boy on the canvas, clearly milking a KO. Look at what Merab just went through in his last fight. Your very fucking teammate. Look at what Merab just went through against Marlon Moraes. See him flopping around? No. got back up, got the takedown, got back on top. You took barely a knee to the face. You flopped over like a prick because you were getting smacked whilst on your knees in front of Piotr Yan, grabbing at his gloves, by the way. I saw you hooking your fingers into Piotr Yan's gloves. We won't talk about that foul that you were committing at the time of the illegal knee. Forget about that. Yan illegally knees you. No one's blaming you for getting illegally kneed. No one's blaming you for technically getting the belt. We're blaming you for flopping around like a bitch when no one else does that. Anthony Smith doesn't do that. Do you understand? Now I can move on to another fucking topic. Swear to... I used to love Aldo. I said he should be on the commentary desk. Aldo is genuinely one of the most eloquently spoke fighters on the roster today. He would be great on the analyst desk. He would be amazing. This whole situation has exposed him for the little fucking 12-year-old that he is inside, on social media, yapping away. Fucking glad Piotr Yan blocked him. Let's move on with a fucking division. This guy should be fucking stripped. Even just for saying this shit on Twitter. Moving on to Woodley. Fucking Woodley! What is he doing? Oh my god, it just gets worse and worse today. Fucking Tyron Woodley. You are 40 with kids. Stop getting I love Jake Paul tattooed on your finger. You know he's not going to accept a fight with you. You've already exceeded the deadline. He said it had to be a certain size. First of all, you should have got it for just losing the fight anyway. It shouldn't have been so you can get the rematch. You had to get that tattoo for losing the fight anyway. You're getting it done so you can get the rematch, okay? And Dan Hardy's been going after him for this as well, and they've been going back and forth. I'll get to that in a second. You're 40. You're not going to get this bout at all. Maybe you could. Maybe in some crazy world, Jake Paul accepts a rematch with you, which wouldn't make any sense whatsoever because I think he's moving on to bigger and better things. You stood there and watched Jake Paul every round outside of round 4 and you want a rematch and feel like you won. You did nothing outside of that one moment in round 4. Jake Paul outboxed you for like 6 out of 8 rounds. Maybe you could have got the last one because Jake Paul knew he'd won already. So, you're getting a tattoo late past the deadline. Not the size that he wanted you to get it in, okay? So that's already going against Jake Paul's policy that he wanted to enforce on how you should get the tattoo. And he said it should have been a certain size on your leg in a visible location. You're getting it on the back of your finger. And also, here's another thing. Dan Hardy said it was a pen, okay? Which it did look like in all honesty to begin with. But then Tyron Woodley, of course, has the video of the woman actually tattooing it on his finger. But he's left out a position in a tattoo where it says, I space Jake Paul. He's left out the space. He has written in pen, most definitely, the word love in that space to make it say I love Jake Paul on his middle finger. Why has he left out that opening? And Dan Hardy went after him for this and they went back and forth. You know why? Because he's going to rub that out as soon as he gets the fight accepted. If in some fantasy world he actually does get it accepted, he's going to rub it out and he's going to put hate there. So obvious, Woodley. Who is around Woodley telling him to do this dumb shit? I hope he doesn't even get the fight at all. He's actually embarrassing the MMA world. Again, acting like a 12-year-old girl on Twitter. It's so sad how 40-year-old men have turned to clout chasers. You've got kids and a wife. Do you remember them? You abandoned them to start a rap career at 37. Remember them? Start acting like a fucking adult with kids. You embarrassment. Your little girls go to school with people. Your sons go to school with people their age. They're probably getting fucking violated in the corridors. I went to school. I know how it is. Not to get violated, but I know how kids work in schools. They will violate you for any old thing. And if their dad is begging for a Jake Paul rematch, they're going to get violated at school at all times. You're doing that to them. He's going to rub out the word love, put in the word hate afterwards, and that'll be his way of getting back at Jake Paul. Dan Hardy went after him and they went back and forth, and Woodley responded. Your UFC career is embarrassing. Your claim to fame is that you got stomped by GSP and didn't die. True, actually true. But still, he's a great analyst other than that, Dan Hardy. Everything was by design. I'll keep setting trends while you tweet. And then he sent a message that showed that he was trending in the US for getting a Jake Paul tattoo. And Dan Hardy responded, you're trending because you got an I love Jake Paul tattoo on your finger. Well done. Congratulations on your championship success. I remember the crowds booing in appreciation as you wore your heel out against the fence, backing up and avoiding the fight. Then Woodley, they're both making good points, to be fair, because he is known for losing to GSP, really, in all honesty, and not tapping to GSP. But Dan Hardy hit him back with a good 10-9 round there. 1-1. Then Woodley says back, belts and titles, things you dreamed of. They cheered as you were carried out on a stretcher. Champs now wear diapers. Last time you fought... Champs now were in diapers last time you fought. Keep living your dream on the bag in your garage. From outlaw to Uber black driver, going at Dan Hardy again, calling him that he's done and he never achieved anything. Then Dan Hardy said, we're the same age, you fool. It's just that I was competing in the UFC a bit earlier, during the reign of the greatest welterweight champion of all time. You came after. I think they're pretty even. I'm not even going to side with Dan Hardy just because Woodley's pissing me off. They both made good insults at each other. But there you go. Fucking done. See you later. I'm worn out.